Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm John,
And I'm Josh.
and welcome to another edition of Seven City Shop Talk No Quarter Thursday, coming off a bye week, man. How you feeling this week, Josh?
Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. Feeling good about the game. Feeling good about the conference. Feeling good, man. It's a good
Yeah,
good feeling. How you feeling?
feeling good, man. We took a week off last week, and boy, did it all happen at once. And so, a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We're going to recap the UCF game, talk about the conference, talk about Houston coming up, but really just the future of ECU in general and the American. So, coming up for the coming off the bye week, we had a tough, heartbreaking loss against UCF again. I mean, just it's tough to go down there, but we were talking before. If time traveled and came back and said we lose that game 20-16 in the offensive, both sides would really be struggling. Would you ever imagine that?
Yeah, no, in my opinion, any game against UCF in any year that I've really been watching ECU would have had to have been an offensive, just outscore the opponent type game. Outside of the one year that UCF didn't win a game, but other than that, nothing would have ever told me that we would have held UCF to 20 points.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
I think a big testament of that is the defense and how big of a step they've made forward this whole year. It's just frustrating. Donnie Kirkpatrick and the offense seems to make one big leap forward and take two big steps back every week. A little bit of the same. Offense was kind of spinning their feet in sand a little bit in the second half and came back to bite them. You got to score points against UCF. You can't leave points on the table. Just a tough way to lose that game, though. Weird clock management at the end of the game, too.
Yeah, I think the clock management, I definitely questioned a lot of that. Hindsight's 2020, but I I I think that if all would have went as coach kind of had probably in his mind, clock management wouldn't have been an issue.
Sure.
I think even though in the moment I did question it, our defense could have stopped him. Our defense could have stopped him.
Yeah, I get, and you're 100% right. Hindsight being 2020, but our defense looked great all night. Ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, but you're playing in the bounce house against, a down team this year, but a predominantly great team that's had our number. Just hate to lose that last game against them before they move on. Just a tough loss all the way around. Looking at the stats, that nothing jumps out at you. The big stat that jumped out to me though was Keaton Mitchell only having 17 carries for 65 yards. Give a lot of credit to UCF's offense. They were able to contain them, and that was a big part of their game plan. It really was the key factor in the game.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I would have never, I would have never imagined that Keaton Mitchell would have been slowed down for this game. UCF's defense isn't. They aren't stellar, but they also aren't. They aren't bad, And I
Mhm.
think that our defense played up, and their defense played a little bit down, but at the same time, their defense played well enough to hold Keaton
Yeah.
Mitchell. So
I mean, our defense held them to 359 total yards, 165 yards on the ground. I'd take that any day against UCF. It just
oh yeah.
didn't go our way that game. Offense, it's easy to have a lot of frustration with them. Still put up 360 yards, 21 first downs. Their third down efficiency was terrible, 4 for 14, 1 for 1 on fourth down. We ran 71 plays. I mean, we did everything to win, but just couldn't pull it out at the end. Just another. I mean, it's just the way it's been going this season. It seems like make big steps forward, fall back, and now looking at that Tulane game, watching Tulane tonight, it's interesting to see how it's going to go from here on out.
Yeah, and to be honest, I agree with what our defensive coordinator said last week during the bye week. He was like, honestly, a few things going different, we could be 5-1.
No, absolutely.
Another few more things could go different, and we could be 1-5. At this point,
Yeah.
I think just taking UCF on the chin and taking this bye week and just preparing for Houston is really the best thing that we could have done. That's just the best thing we could have done.
Yeah, and I think it's a game that either is going to define your season or prepare you for the season. And I hope it's the latter. But it's the kind of game that the last couple of years that ECU loses and they hang their head and get throttled the next game. I'm hoping that attitudes change a little bit. They know what they can do and really come out and show us something against Houston.
Yeah. I mean, and to kind of piggyback on talking about Houston, I think one thing that people might not realize is that we put up more points against Tulane than Houston did
Oh yeah.
the very next week. We were able to beat Tulane 52-29, and Houston only beat them 40-22. So maybe there's something to that. I mean, and it was a home game for Houston as well, or for Tulane as well. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And Navy gave everything Houston wanted in that game too earlier in the season. So I mean, it is, it is what it is. They've played a Grambling State, sorry, who they should have beaten, a Rice team that they should have beaten, and they took care of business. But then, after the Texas Tech game, they got a Navy that we think is down, but you never know. They've been doing great things lately. Tulsa, they destroyed Tulane. And so I just don't know what team we're going to get there. But, I mean, I'm excited for the game. 13.5-point underdogs. I was happy with 14 points. I was scared it's going to be 21-point spread, which is always a death knell for ECU. Whenever it's 21 points, you can go ahead and pencil in a 35-point loss. I don't understand why we see that 21 and just fall apart. But, I could see this game going. I feel like that's a good spread. I could see us covering, but it's going to be a tough game, especially on the road.
Yeah, I think that for me, personally, I think that this game kind of falls in ECU's favor a little bit more than some people might think. I think that the team is more cohesive at this point in the season than we've been at any other season. We had a week off to rest bodies, which I think was very much needed. I mean, we've only played 2 running backs the entire season, and they split carries something like 71-72. Between the two, like
it's a big toll. I mean, you're right.
Yeah, and I mean for them to get that rest, for the wide receivers to get some rest, and for us to come back at a team that's going to be pretty heavy hitting. I think that's really just the best thing that could have happened to us this year.
Yeah, and just looking, I don't know if you've watched any game film. I've watched a little bit of Houston. They do give up some rushes to the quarterback. Their quarterback got hit a little bit in the Tulane game, and so I feel like if we can get
on 2nd and goal, impressive first drive, hampered a little bit by penalties. Toon forced out of the pocket.
Escapable. You're fine. I can dog over it, but he's escapable. But he's definitely somebody that can if we can get to him and route him a little bit, we have a shot at it.
Right. Yeah, and I definitely feel like Clayton Toon, he's good. I mean, their offensive line coach was a former ECU offensive line coach. Their offensive line is big, but I think that our linebacking core is gonna have a pretty good day. I definitely feel like our linebackers are gonna kind of solidify this week and be prepared for this game.
Absolutely. I just feel like if we can play, if our defense can play as well in the first half against UCF, that gives our offense a chance to do something. There's nothing, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. There's nothing that wrong with the offense that isn't fixable. I don't see any huge glaring, oh my gosh, we don't have a tight end. Oh my gosh, our running game can't get going at all. Or, oh my gosh, we're not hitting receivers. Everything is there. We just got to put it all together in one game. And it could be the Houston game. I feel like the SMU game last year and the Tulane game this year, we saw it. But I'd love to see it against a team that we know this year is a good team.
Oh yeah. And I mean, with that, do you want to give a score prediction for this game, or are you?
I'm always good for that because I know it's going to be wrong. Let me look back at last week. I knew I picked a low scoring game, but I was still way off. Let's see. I picked last week a 35-31 loss. And so got the win-loss right, but 4 points correct, but totally blew the over under. So this week, let me write it down. I'm going to say, hoping for the, I think ECU will cover. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people think. I'm going to say, I think it's going to be 32 to, I'm going to pick a weird score, 32 to 25, Houston.
Okay. Okay.
I'm picking that score just because it lands perfectly on the under over.
I know for UCF, I definitely said that ECU was going to have to score like 35 points to win. And yeah, if we would have scored 35, we would have. But I think this week I haven't looked at I haven't looked at the over under. So is that what, 59?
Yeah, it's higher. I just closed it because I'm an idiot. Hold on. It is 58 and a half. Yeah.
58 and a half?
Yes.
Okay. So if the over under is 58 and a half, we're a 10-point dog away game.
13 and a half for most places, 10, a couple of places. It's varying. I always go with DraftKings because they always have a big spread. Or they always have a bunch of stuff, but I'd say I'd give it 10 to 13 and a half. It started at 14, and I was shocked that it fell pretty quickly to 12, 11, then jumped back up. I think people jumped on it. But
I would say ECU has to score at least 35. Again, I say that we have to score at least 35 to win. So if ECU wins, the score will be something like 38 to 32. And if ECU loses, I mean, pick whatever score you want to pick. I mean, it could be close. It could be a blowout. That's really the hardest thing, especially about away games. And a team like Houston, I mean, their fans are really good about getting into the stadium. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, if you look at all of Houston's games so far, they haven't allowed, outside of Texas Tech, they haven't allowed any more than 22 points. And that was against Tulane. But then again, they played Rice and Grambling and Navy and Tulane. I mean, so it's not like they played teams with a 500 record or better.
Mm-hmm. So that's what always gets me. That's why I think the odds makers have a tough job, but they do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, this is probably the hardest game to predict. This is probably going to be the hardest game to predict. But I definitely say we have to score at least 38, like Texas Tech did.
Yeah, and I'll say too, just if I want to make a weird prediction, I say if we get, and I know it's a high number, but I guarantee a victory. I will guarantee it. If we get 30 first downs, I guarantee we'll win this game. Guarantee it. And just looking at Houston over the last 3 years, when they give up more than 29 first downs, they've lost the game 9 out of 10 times. And so I want to say, if we get to 30, we're going to keep that trend and watch us get 35 first downs and get stomped. That'd be funny. But I think if and it's getting to the point it's a little bit frustrating because we've seen it work in the past. But if we can go high tempo and use a 2 quarterback scheme, I feel like we have a chance to really run out there and get 25, 30 first downs in a game. But we get bogged down. We do weird stuff when we're milking the clock, we should be milking the clock. We're snapping the ball with 11 seconds left. When we need to be hurrying up, we're changing the play and altering out too much. I don't know, but
yeah, kind of along those lines. If ECU runs into third down 15 times, we have to convert at least 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I mean, ECU has been pretty bad at converting on third down this year. We've been pretty good at converting fourth, though. I mean, when we went for we've done pretty good on fourth, but I mean, the game's not meant to be a true 4-down game like that. But I mean, they held Tulane 4 of 14 on third down, and Tulane had 17 first down. So I think that we're gonna have to be much better on third down.
Well, I decided to look up where ECU ranks on their third down efficiency. You don't want to know.
We're probably 128.
Yeah. So we're not in the top 100. I'm still scrolling. Let's see. We are 126th.
126 out of 130, right?
Out of 130, we are ahead of Louisiana Monroe, Middle Tennessee, Yukon, and New Mexico.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yukon and New Mexico.
Yeah, fourth down efficiency. Hold on. I got that one. Oh, that was funny. I started with that one. We were, oh man, where'd it go? We were in the top fit. We were in the top 100. Hold on. I should have left it up and just done another tab. We are right dead center in the middle of the pack, about 58.
Okay.
So,
which isn't that's not horrible. That's not horrible.
Yeah, I mean, no, you know what? I'm looking at 2020, but I was right on the other one. We are number 9 in the nation on fourth down efficiencies for 2021.
Hey, we're doing great there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're in a bad spot, being where we have to go for fourth down a lot. But
right.
We're just behind Cincinnati by about 20 percentage points.
Yeah, and I mean, and another thing about the fourth down is if you combine our fourth down efficiency with the number of punts that we have as a team, that is, to me, that's just like we've got to get the offense going better on these later downs. I mean, because if we're ranking near the bottom of third down efficiency, but we're also ranking near the top of fourth down, but we also have one of the conference's leading punters in number of punts. We've just got to be better on those third downs.
That's another thing, man. Just to be blessed with a good punter to flip the field is amazing.
Yeah, that's probably won us more games than anything else that ECU's done. Is having a good punter.
Yeah, got that tickle in the throat. Had to get some milk. Thank you to my wife for doing that for me. So one thing I want to talk about too real quick before we get into the big news. We do it every week. Looking at ECU's remaining schedule: Houston, South Florida, Temple, Memphis, Navy, Cincinnati. Where do you see us finishing now? We're 3-3, 6 games to go.
We're 3-3 with 6 games to go. You know, I think that the fan in me wants to say we have at least 3 wins left in us, probably 4. If especially depending on how this weekend goes, probably 4.
Who's your fourth one? I think we can agree South Florida, Temple, and do you say Memphis or Navy for the 3?
I say Navy because they I mean Navy might have beaten UCF, but that's their only win still.
Yeah. All right. So do you think I'm guessing you're going to take Memphis?
I'm actually going to take Houston before I take Memphis. But it's Houston is next in line, so I'm going to go ahead and say that we could probably beat them, but then we can still probably beat Memphis. Depending on how we do in this game. I don't think personally, I just don't think Houston's been tested beyond that Texas Tech game. That's just the honest truth about it. So for me, I think that we'll be the best team Houston's faced since Texas Tech.
I agree with you there. I see 3 more wins: South Florida, Temple, and I'm actually going to take Memphis over Navy, just because Navy just always seems to have our number the last couple of years. I don't know. Memphis, we don't have to play every year, and so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And it's just fun to play in the Liberty Bowl, so I hope we do well there. I'd love to say I'd like to take Cincinnati, but I don't think that's gonna be a tough game.
And another thing about Memphis is that Memphis has really slid. Like after starting off hot, they've slid. I mean,
yeah,
they lost to Tulsa, lost to Temple. Those are 2 teams that you just don't think that a Memphis team's going to lose to. You know.
Yeah, their game tomorrow night against UCF is going to be there. I think we'll find out who they really are tomorrow night. SMU's in the same, but to me, SMU, man, they look like world beaters every time they go out there. I think they're much improved over last year, but I think we'll see who Memphis really is on the road at UCF. But if they go out there and get blown out, I feel much better about the game. If they go in there and beat them, I still feel decent about it. But I don't know. I just keep as a fan. It's hard to separate as a fan. I just keep thinking as a fan and a coach, in other sports, that we have to be improving. Like, I don't know. I can see the improvement for the last couple of years, but in a season, you still need to improve. And I feel like that UCF game is going to help us improve to actually finish games out. I feel like we know what we need to do. We just have to execute and do it. So.
Yeah. And another thing that kind of comes to mind is how much is this Houston team going to be focused on beating us this week? Because that's another thing where, yeah, they have us right now, but next week they play SMU.
I mean, that's their game. That's the one they have circled. You're 100% right. And if I'm Houston, I could lose every game this season as long as I beat SMU.
Right,
I'm good to go. Yeah.
I mean, because and if you look at how SMU's season really lines up, after this week, this is when they finally actually start to get tested because they got that Houston game, Memphis, UCF, Cincinnati. You know, they have that stretch. So, I mean, I think Houston, some of the players might not be as focused as they need to be because they just think it's another ECU game, and they start thinking ahead and think, you know, we've got to beat SMU.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I'm looking at SMU now. I mean, gosh, they're primed for it. I mean, they've beaten everyone they're supposed to beat. Their season really does get started next week, but I don't know. I wish they played each other during our bye week and beat each other up. That'd have been great. But
that would have been amazing. That would have been the best case scenario.
Yeah. So let's get to. So I think just everyone's got their high hopes for Houston. I think we said it before we got on. If ECU goes out there and loses by 45, I'm still feeling good about 6 wins. If we go out there and win by 20, it wouldn't shock me either. I just don't know. It's a tough call game, but I think a lot of ECU fans are on the edge right now after that last game. If we lose another close game, there's going to be some disgruntled fans. But again, at the beginning of the season, if you told me we'd go down to Central Florida and hang in there and leading in the fourth quarter, only lose to about 4, and then if you go in there and have a close game with Houston, I think any fan would take it, especially to show the improvement. But
yeah,
it's just we know what we can do. We know what this team can do.
Yeah,
and we'll see.
Yeah, I think most rational fans are satisfied with this season so far, and as long as we keep on the trajectory and just win the games we're supposed to win, then I think that we'll be satisfied. I think that rational fans will still be satisfied. It's the ones that call for people's jobs when you go for it on 4th down, on 4th and 1, and somebody slips. Those are the ones where those fans won't be pleased from anything. But
yeah, there's some people that are never. There's Alabama fans that complain when they only win national championships by 20. So I mean,
right, exactly.
It is what it is. And I'm trying to be that way. I'm trying to be negative, but I understand the angst when it comes to ECU because we could just see where they can be. But the big news today, but really this whole week, and we were talking about it, you take a week off, everything hits you quick, is the American Conference expanding, man, stealing or just straight swooping into Conference USA, taking 6 of their team, UAB, Charlotte, FAU, North Texas, Rice, and I don't even know the Roadrunners. Are they Texas, El Paso? I can't remember. San Antonio. University of Texas, San Antonio. The Roadrunners. I like their mascot. One of my favorite ones ever. If we had a coyote, it'd be perfect. Lots of discussion, lots of happy fans and a lot of unhappy fans. So I just want to get your initial reaction to the news breaking today.
So my initial reaction was, man, those are the wrong teams. That was when I first heard the rumors. I was like, okay, some of these teams, because I mean we've talked about it before. I've talked about it in some of my YouTube videos. I was a fan of us going for Eastern Seaboard regional teams that could help boost just staying east, right? But to be honest with you, I'm not looking at the numbers, looking at the money, looking at the markets. I'm not upset. I've looked at it long enough, and I'm no longer upset that we didn't get App State, we didn't get Marshall.
Yeah,
it's one of those things.
Everything I've been reading is that ESPN had a big hand in that, saying that the Sun Belts had upper viewership. We can't really shake that tree yet. I'm hoping down the road we can merge those conferences together. The only big head scratcher to me is Rice is a football. I don't understand with all the Texas teams. I don't understand what they really bring to it. Great for basketball and baseball, but for a football conference, not sure. I know nothing. I'll be honest with you. I know nothing about the Roadrunners. I don't think ECU's ever even played them. Couldn't tell you a thing about it. I just know they're the Roadrunners and they play in some stadium that looks ridiculous.
Yeah. So actually, about Rice, Rice is probably added because of the American Conference's new commitment to Olympic sports.
Oh, yeah.
I know that this was talked about a few weeks ago by Mike Oresco when he was talking about, we have to start looking at that and talking about how a team like Temple, when they're at track and field events, they're never gonna go against East Carolina because they're gonna stay in Pennsylvania, regional. A team like Houston, when they go, they're gonna be going against, University of Texas, Texas Tech, they'll be in Big 12 type. So getting 4 teams in Texas, not only does that prove that the American Conference wasn't stupid in moving the headquarters to Texas, like, because to be honest with you, you move the headquarters from Rhode Island, where there is no Division I team at all, to Texas.
But they did have a clam roast.
12, and then you lose one of your 2 Texas teams. So I think the American had to go for more Texas teams just to not look stupid.
Yeah.
But I mean, the media markets is really probably the biggest thing about, especially San Antonio.
And that's the big thing. That's what the big thing it took from the media markets. They're all big media market teams. Houston, San Antonio, UAB. They're all Charlotte, especially. I really like Charlotte though. When I heard that one, that was my favorite one. Knowing that ECU is going to have an in-state rival in conference, but FAU, great facilities, a larger market in Florida. I liked it. UAB, anytime you can get in Birmingham, Alabama area, that's a good deal. I didn't hate it. at all. In a perfect world, we would have taken Marshall, App State, and Coastal Carolina, but that's not the world we live in.
Right. And also I think that ECU fans need to temper themselves about the teams, because if you look at it and if you really think about it, money talks, and we're the only school not in a major media market now. You cannot complain. You can't complain while you are the team that's stopping most of the media, coverage, because they could easily swap us out for a Middle Tennessee State and then be in Nashville, or Georgia State and be in Atlanta. I mean,
I'm telling you, I had this conversation the other day. You could switch them out for ODU and have the 7 cities with over 1.5 million people.
Exactly.
So I can't complain either. But I don't hate it. The only team that I wish we could have added, like that, I wish we could have just somehow just gone against everything's Marshall. I just like playing Marshall. They fit they have the mentality. They have the American mentality to me, just win. But you make a good point about the media markets. But think about this. Conference USA has one of the lower TV deals in the college football. Not the lowest, but lower. I think it's like $1 million a team. You give UAB or Charlotte $6 million, and they're going to do something. You give them more money over the years, and I can't remember when their contract ends with ESPN, but it's a good long stretch. Constantly giving these teams $6 million every year, with occasion. I'm still having hopes for New Year's Eve bowls with the teams we have left. Hopefully ECU one day, but you're looking at a pretty good payout for these teams to improve their facilities. Don't sleep on these teams very long to improve their football teams, especially.
Right, exactly. And I mean, another thing that people might want to look at is if you take a team like UTSA. I think they've had a football team for 11 years now.
Couldn't tell you.
They are a young program, just like Charlotte's had theirs for, I guess 7, 8 years now.
7 or 8 years.
Yeah, they started 2015. So if you take those 2 teams that are young, but you take UNC Charlotte beat Duke this year.
Yeah.
So okay.
Oh, yeah.
They have their first Power 5 win. You've got UTSA that was undefeated and against most people's odds beat Memphis at Memphis.
Mhm.
Like, and they're still undefeated. So I mean, you take these two young teams and you give them the actual money that they need. San Antonio is the second largest metro in Texas. I mean, what else is there? What else is there to really ask for in terms of making this conference worth its salt and bringing us up? I mean,
I 100% agree with you. I just when I heard the teams originally, it kind of took me back. But the more and more I think about, it, the more and more sense it makes. Could we get the first group that we had on the West Coast? Kind of low key happy it didn't pan out because that would have been insane for travel. Here, I could see us taking one plane for 3 different sports, especially in the spring, and make a Texas swing. And then with travel for football too, you could go down for 2 weeks, especially with the advent of Zoom. Everyone's on Zoom now. You send your football team down there to a hotel for 2 weeks in a row. You play I guess you play North Texas and then Rice back to back and save a lot of money that way too. Makes sense to me. Financially, I think people are going to be upset, but really, I think if you give these teams a couple years with the money in their programs, they're going to really step up. It's the commissioner's talking about. I had the quote pulled up. They're trying to keep the Power Six mentality. Their strength in numbers. He said, yeah, their strength in numbers. We're going to have a Power Six mentality. It's going to be energized. It's not going away. I want to make that clear. I really feel like they're buying into it. I feel like they got some big markets. Take a couple of years to get these teams rolling, and we could be in a good spot in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to ask you this question. So, what does this expansion mean specifically for ECU, though?
Yep, that's what I want to. That's the $1 million question. So I'm not ignorant. I know that it's a step down from losing our big three to the Power Five, but I think it's a real opportunity. I think, especially in the short term, I'm thinking next year or not next year, 2023, 2024, we can make a real run at this conference with these teams. Finish up in the top tier. Really stack up some wins in conference early with these teams. And I think it could be like our glory days in Conference USA, the back-to-back conference championship days for a couple of years and really build it up. It's tough. We really dropped off when we left Conference USA because we started going against better talent. And now we're coming back down the talent-wise, but we still have the TV markets. We still have the facilities. We still have all these things. It could really work out for us. I could see easily in the next 3 to 4 years being at 50,000 people at games again every week and bound for conference championships every year.
Yeah, I think what I look at with ECU is if we can keep getting better as a team and the team starts to be more successful in the current version of the American Conference until I guess 2023 would be the year. Maybe that's what people are kind of talking about, 2023. So we have one season really to really solidify what this team's identity is going to be, right? I mean, you got a team like UNC Charlotte that is coming up and is trying to be more consistent. UAB, who's very consistent and is pretty good.
I love UAB. They fit right in.
I love UAB. Everything about UAB. When I went to Birmingham, I love their campus. I love everything about UAB personally. Yep. If you talk about North Texas being more consistent, UTSA being undefeated right now, and them being more consistent going forward. You got SMU, you got a Memphis team that could very well get back to where they were. I mean, Temple could easily, with the right coaching hire, could get back to where they were. I mean, this conference has the potential to be everything that it could possibly be. I mean, I don't see the Big 12 running away from us with the teams that we added in 3 years.
Well, I can see, and I can see it with Cincinnati, really, them going to the Power Five and just getting shellacked, having to face that competition week in, week out, and they would still be a great team, but look more down to earth. I feel like that's going to happen to all those teams, but I think it's going to put the spotlight on Cincinnati the most. I feel like ECU could be in a good spot. I think just perception's everything today. A 7-0, 2-7-0 teams in a conference game, if the conference might be lower now, it's going to grab a lot of eyeballs on ESPN.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at TCU, I mean, when they left the Mountain West and joined the Big 12, they were taken back down to earth very quickly. Yeah. And
Dude, that you make it. I don't want to interrupt you. You made the perfect point about TCU, man. To go from, I think, the West. I can't remember what they were in. They went from somewhere. Was it the Western Athletic Conference to Conference USA to Mountain West before they ever got into the Big 12. I mean, they show that you can be successful in smaller conferences. And I feel like if ECU ever wants to break in, that's just what we're going to do. We're going to have to win again. We're going to need to get back to those 8, 9, 10 win seasons every year. And this gives us the opportunity.
Oh, yeah. And Houston, I kind of feel bad for them because, I mean, Houston looks good right now. But, I mean, just like Cincinnati, and UCF is already starting to look more down to earth. I mean, the Big 12 looks like they might not have made the best choice.
but let's be real with Houston, and really all of them, but it magnifies in Houston too. What's Houston's big recruiting selling point is, hey, we might not be Power 5, we might not be Big 12, but you can play now. You can play good. You can compete now. And now you're going to the Big 12 where, yeah, you can compete now, but you're going to be behind Texas. You're going to be, now they're leaving too, but you're going to be, on an average team where in the American Conference, you could be on a great team, get national exposure and get to play now. And that they don't have that anymore. It's really going to hurt their recruiting for the first couple of years, and we'll see. And I'm not trying to wish bad things on them, but I just think it's tough to make that jump. Not a lot of teams are successful right off the bat.
Yeah, and another thing about Houston recruiting, one of their biggest selling points was, hey, stay in. They were just recruiting the city of Houston. It'd be like, stay home. Now it's like, okay, stay home, but like, stay home and get beat by Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State looks like they're about to take the reins for the Big 12 as soon as Texas and Oklahoma are gone. I mean,
we always make this joke is like we always talk about for our football teams up here in Virginia or high school. We pump them up. You're doing this for the city. You're playing for your city. Play for the name on the front of your jersey. You do it for your friends and family all over the city, and then we go out there and get beat by 40. And so that's going to be Houston. Let's do it for Houston. We're going to do this for Houston and go out there and just get shellacked. But I really feel like the big spotlight on Houston or Cincinnati is going to be tough for them. They're holding it well this year. They have the perfect schedule for it. I could really see them running the table, especially after the Notre Dame game. And I would love for them to win a national championship and we take the revenue from that. But I could just see them getting shellacked in the playoffs and then just falling in. That's just it. That was their high water mark. And then moving on to Power 5, that's going to be a tough road. But we'll see. But back to the original question, I feel like it's a good deal for ECU.
I do too. I think that this is probably one of the better deals that we could have had. Now, I just want to have this one last question about conference expansion. During the press conference, Mike Oresco talked about the number of teams we took. He was saying, at first he said 2 to 4 but we ended up taking 6. Somebody asked if 6 was the max and if we were going to stop here. And he said, if teams show interest, we might take 1 or 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that App State and Coastal Carolina just didn't reach out? Do you think?
Hey, that's a good question. If I'm Coastal Carolina, I know that I have a good thing going. I'm the biggest fish in the smallest pond right now. I get on ESPN every week. I might have to play Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night games every week, but I'm right on the mothership every week. I'm on every sports center they have. When they lose, it's a big deal. I wouldn't leave for anything until a P5 school or conference called me. App State, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. If I were them, I'd be begging them and Marshall. I need out of here. This ship is sinking. I need a lifeline. So we'll see. What I'm really hoping is that we can swoop in and steal JMU if they come to D1, and they're looking at the Sun Belt. I'd love to see them come here instead and have just another regional type partnership with a team close by. But I don't know. I don't know who would be your prime pick for if we could add one more team.
If we could add, if it was just one more team, I would have to go with Appalachian State.
Mm-hmm.
I think that their consistency from 2006 to now it's unbelievable consistency for college football. It's Alabama level consistency.
It really is.
Even though they did jump up a level, yeah, okay, cool. Now they have, they're a 2-loss team this year, but they did just beat the undefeated team in their conference that was ranked.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
top,
their
top
first
16,
win, right? Like it's their first win over a ranked opponent since Michigan, and they weren't even they weren't even in the same level as Michigan. So at this point, it's just one of those things where like Appalachian State's my team that if I'm the American, I'm looking at like whenever they call.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It makes too much sense. So they'll never call. But you've got Charlotte now, East Carolina. You got regional partners. Your competition is higher, but not so high. You're in a different world. You're not stepping into an SEC. But I don't know. It makes too much sense. I don't know why they wouldn't. I would even take Middle Tennessee at this point too. I think that would be a good one, but I don't know. I would hope to see. I think there is a strength in number. I'd like to see that mega conference and C conference, American conference, try to take over that mantle. Hey, we're going to have 18, 19, 20 teams in here, and we're going to be, undisputed conference champion. We're going to have great teams every year just by sheer number. I don't know. I don't know where his head's at on that. I'd like to see anybody else, just to keep American conference in the news, and that'd be the big takeaway from that.
Yeah, and I think but the conference geographically was missing that Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia block, right? Mm-hmm. I think either we go Middle Tennessee, we go Southern Miss, we go Georgia State to kind of fill in the geography, but then all those Middle Tennessee would have decent travel partners with Memphis. That'd be a drive. UAB would be a drive. Charlotte could be a drive. That's kind of a longer drive.
Yeah, but that's still a one-night trip on a bus is better than hauling off on the plane for 4 days.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So but like a team like Southern Miss, their only drive would be UAB, maybe. You know. So in terms of travel, no one has it better than SMU and North Texas being in the same metro area now. Nobody has it better than them. But
what I'd like to see, and maybe it's crazy, is just to have a good 20 teams and you play in the pods, 10-team pods. They're geographical, and whoever comes out of the pods wins. Or even if you want to go real crazy, you go 25 teams and have 4 pods, and each winner goes into like a playoff for the conference championship, and you just play regionally every year with like one game outside of your pod to make it even. But I don't know, it could be interesting.
But. Yeah, and honestly, that's one thing that I've thought about is if the American Conference wanted to disrupt college football, easily the Conference USA, merger that they asked for that they didn't get because there was obviously stuff going on behind the scenes from them. But if we did have, basically the best of the best Sun Belt and Conference USA teams added to the American, that would make us the Power Six. You couldn't disagree at that point because there's no one out of the MAC that could go against us. And San Diego State, San Jose State, Fresno State, Boise State, those 4 teams aren't going to be consistent enough to beat out 4 of the teams in that American Conference. So
I think you nailed it on the head, and there's some of our comments too, man. Man, I don't know. App State would be ideal, really. If we could get App State, that would be a good deal. I'd love Southern Miss too, just because of the old Conference USA rival. I don't know. I wouldn't mind eating someone up there for Navy though. I don't know. I have no idea who you could pick up there, but I don't know. I like JMU just because I'm in Virginia and I know what they can do, and we have a connection with them through Coach Houston. But it'd be cool if we pulled something crazy and were able to get someone that no one saw coming, just to get the conference back in the news in a positive light. Although it's been positive today, I can't complain. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. I really don't think conference realignment's done. I think once Conference USA picks up the pieces and tries to move on, you'll see a little bit more. But we'll see. I don't know. They're pretty much done, in my opinion. I don't know how they're going to make it without some big over the top plan. But
Conference USA is going to have to get Jacksonville State. They're going to get JMU. They're going to have to get all of the Southern powers in FCS to come up to stay
and why would they really? I mean,
yeah, why would you?
Yeah, but maybe they can get UConn. Yeah, I will give American Conference not to panic after UConn left. That was a good deal.
Oh yeah, that was smart to just stay at 11 and just wait it out. Just wait it out.
Yep. Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I feel like it's not going to be the last time we broach this subject this year. I'm still interested too. Are the American and the Big 12 going to be able to, and the Conference USA, work it out, broker a deal to get them out of the conferences and into their new conference sooner than later? Be interested. I can't remember where I read it, but it would be interesting because the buyouts are so low in comparison. I think it's $3 million for an early exit fee that America could easily, if we could strike a deal with the Big 12, use that money to pay the buyouts for Conference USA and start next year. But it's a lot of paperwork.
I actually tweeted this out.
It might have been you.
If we could get Houston,
was you?
Yeah, if we could get Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF to give us a little bit more money. Literally, all I would ask for is 1 year's revenue from ESPN, as their buyout to leave early, and then that money would literally cover all 6 teams for us to get these teams in.
And I'm telling you, and I looked it up now. I can't remember. I'm getting too old, but our TV deal, I should look it up. American, it doesn't run out for a while, but if we could get these teams up to speed and get competitive, that's a good negotiating, stance to have too in a couple of years. So I hope that works out, and I hope that will get it. That's where ECU needs to be, winning games consistently. We can't have these 5 and 4 win seasons anymore. We need to be starting to have the 6, 7, 8, 9 win seasons. Put ourselves in a good negotiating spot when the TV contracts come back up.
Yeah, that contract doesn't go out until 2031, 2032.
That's it.
So
yeah, we got time.
We've got a lot of time.
And that's why I think
a whole other generation of conference realignment at that point. If you look at
and that's why I think
been going.
That's why you need to do something crazy now, because you have time to say that didn't work. Let's get rid of these teams. But
yeah,
I don't know. All right, well, we're I think that's a good deal. Got Houston this Saturday. What time's that game? 4:00. Yeah, it's
4 o'clock. Yep.
And whoever that was, I did put the wrong date on there the first time. You got me. It happens. I think I don't know what happened. I was totally not even close. But yep, this Saturday, not a week ago, and 4 o'clock. I think it's on ESPNU. It's a big game, really. I feel like if we can win that game and send Houston out with a loss against us, that makes it just look that much better going into next season. But we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see.
All right, well, let's go ahead and sign off, and we'll be here. Next Thursday we can't because it'll be a blackout game.
Right.
We'll see y'all earlier in the week, sometime next week.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Have a good night.